greetings of the day. Rooted to ancient Greece, waves of feminism flourished in the UK. The first wave of feminism, 1830s to early 1900s, was centered around the sufferings of women and women's fight for equal contract and property rights. While the second wave, 1960s to 1980s, broadened the debate to women's reproductive rights, workplace, family, and sexuality. The third wave of feminism in 1990s and early 2000s, which can be termed as the micropolitics of equality for women with its varied, complex branches of feminist outlooks, such as the ego-cultural feminist, the radicals, the liberal reforms, the electoral, academic, eco-feminist, etc. The fourth wave of feminism has hit the air with the aid of social media networks, the Me Too movement and the Times Up movement. It also wages a war against sexual harassment besides the issues put forth by the previous waves of feminism. Hence, in real life, to cultivate the crops of gender equality, the cinema should prepare grounds. How much responsibility is shouldered by the director Prem Kumar in empowering women characters through his films is the study. According to Krauss in 1965, like Perseus who slayed Gorgon Medusa by looking at its reflection on the shield given by Athena, the silver screen shields us by providing us mere mirror reflections of dreadful encounters and situations which the artist's imaginative rendering of unseen dreadful real ones. Thus, such a knowledge gained may guide people when they encounter them in real life. Do Prem Kumar's 8 films pass the feminist film theories such as the Bachelor taste, Makomori taste, or the sexy lamb taste? Do Prem Kumar's heroines are underrepresented or misrepresented in the selected films? Do Prem Kumar's films fare well comparatively are the research questions of my study. This quantitative method as well as qualitative method is adhered to. An interview with the director to get the solution to the queries to know how the 1980s and the 1990s film industry regarded women's emancipation and how it helped him to represent women in his movies positively or negatively. The interview will also bring out whether there were any women behind the screens in 1980s and 1990s. So as to put to test the selected films to critical mass theory and critical author theory. Quantitative method was adhered to check whether the women were underrepresented in Prem Kumar's film. Self-coded scoring sheet was prepared to check whether Prem Kumar's films passed the Bachelor test, Makomori test or the sexy lamb test. What are my samples? Let us ask the director of the film, Prem Kumar, because his films are my samples. Good morning, sir.
Hello.
Could you please tell us the names of your films, the years they were directed, in what languages you directed them?
I started my first direction film is in 1979, Lajavati and Sayuja. Both the films are released in 1980s. Then I started a Malayalam movie, Hrudayam Padannu. And the same movie I made into Tamil also in 1980s. Then I started my own production, Pooviriyum Pulari, with the megastar Mammootty. After that, the same film I made in Tamil as Pennulla. After that, I made a very big film with superstar Jai Shankar in Tamil, named Kaivarisai. After the success of Kaivarisai, then I started an Arabic film called Album with the support of the government of Oman. I am the technical director of that film, and that film released on 2010. After that, I started my own production, a Hollywood film named Pirate's Blood, and I introduced Sunny Leon as the heroine, and I am the technical director of that film and one of the producers.
Thank you very much, sir. This is my self-coded worksheet, and you can see the results in the next slide. Points obtained, you can see out of 30, Andarangamumayanadu, Hirudayam Patanunum, Pennullam, Puviriyam Pulari, Lejavadi, Kaivarisai and Sayujyam, all the 7 films got 27, only Pirate's Blood got only 22.5 out of 30. That means the results are very, very astonishing that he gave more representation to women. See here how the male and female lead characters got their representation. In Puviriyam Pulari, out of 93 scenes, male lead character 1 and male lead character 2, they were there in 78% of scenes. Where, to compare with it, the women characters were there in 75% of the scenes. Can you believe it? It is incredible but true. Even in Pennullam, out of 93 scenes, the ladies were there in 75% of the scenes. In Hirudayam Patanunno, you can see the women were there in 84% of the scenes. And in Andarangamumayanadu, you can see the women were there in 84% of the scenes. I think worldwide it is incredible statistics. What does Makomori test wants? If and only if the movie has at least one female character who gets her own narrative arc that is not about supporting a man's story, the movie is proclaimed, then it has passed the Makomori test. Brittany in 2010 in his blog listed 610 films which passed the Makomori test, out of which 87 passed the Bachelor test too. A movie satisfies 3 basic requirements: having at least 2 named women, they talking to each other and their conversation is about something other than a man. If it satisfies these 3 basic requirements, then the movie is said to pass the Bachelor test. It is, though looking like a low bar, most popular dollar-winning films like Spider-Man, The Jungle Book, Star Trek Beyond and The Hobbit all fail at least one of these criteria. Even a movie in which 2 women only speak to each other briefly in one scene about anything trivial under the sun gets a passing grade, and yet more than 40% of all US films fail. The team used data from the BachelorTaste.com website, a user-compiled database of over 7,000 movies, where volunteers rate films based on the Bachelor criteria. The number of criteria a film passes adds up to is Bachelor score. According to a 2014 study by 538, the data journalist site created by Neta Silver, the authors of that study analyzed 1,794 movies released between 1970 to 2013, and they found that the number of passing films rose steadily from 1970 to 1995 but then began to stall. Both men and women should feel free to be strong, said Watson, a UN Women Goodwill Ambassador. It's time that we all perceive gender on a spectrum, not as 2 opposing sets of ideals. What is feminism? It's all about the ability, wisdom and freedom to make choices, decisions, to be independent, whether one can choose to stay at home or go to work, and to make choices about their studies, vacation, grooms, to have kids or not, have a haircut or have a haircut. Most of the choices we can make today is because of the progressive directors like Prem Kumar. Clearly, a film's quality has a lot to do with the people who are funding it. It is the producers and their concerns that decides a film's fate. G. Prem Kumar, the director himself, is the producer of Pirates Blood, Pennullam, Puvirium Pulari, so it was easy for him to make his dream, imagination, take the form in the media and could offer superior, edgier, women-centric films. Prem Kumar, the director and producer of 80s, 90s and also of this 21st century, is an example to say filmmakers of the past had a good vision, gave respect for women. In Indian context, cinema is the continuum where lyrics, music composers, singers, cinematographer or director, choreographer, director, dialogue writer, actors, dancers, special effects, dubbing artists meet in this continuum. That is why the innumerable songs in the Indian films where the heroines' feelings, struggles are finding the best medium in songs. And certainly in all the 8 films there are songs which proclaim that G. Prem Kumar is a feminist in every sense. Even in his Hollywood film, one of the 3 heroines sings a song by herself, both in and on screen and off screen. Now let us hear from the director G. Prem Kumar how it has become possible for him to give more women representation.
Some of my films like Kaivarisai, Pirates Blood have 3 heroines. Pennullam, Puvirium Pulari, Hrudayam Padannu, Andarangam Umayanadu, Lejjavadi, Sayujam have 2 heroines. Sometimes it's very difficult to say who plays the lead roles. Both the heroines in Pennullam, Puvirium Pulari, Hrudayam Padannu and Andarangam Umayanadu plays very crucial roles, as there are many female protagonists. The representation is also more.
Critical mass theory demands more women off the screen too. What were your contributions towards this, sir?
Those days, there were not many editors or directors who were fit or opt for such jobs. 3 films of mine, Pirates Blood, Albu, Hello Doctor, were under female production company name, that is Jayasree Cine International. Puvirium Pulari and Pennullam were also under female production company names. Kaivarisai, Deepandangal producer are also women. In films like Sayujam, Pudira Punadama, there were always female dance masters like Girija and Lalita besides Raghu Master. Many female singers were given a chance like S. Janaki, Shushila, Chitra, Vani Jayaram and L.R. Ishwari. Moreover, it was me who booked the famous female singer and music composer from North India, Usha Khanna, for the film Agni Nilavu. I was the second unit director for that film.
Does this credit goes to the state where you were born, Kerala, or to the Konkani community you belong to, or to Tamil Nadu, the state where you lived and shot most of the films, sir?
Yep, Kerala had been a matriarchal society in the past. We cannot ascertain the same now even in Kerala, since everywhere in reality equality towards women folk is on steady increase, including in states like Kerala, probably due to wider exposure to other Indian cultures and floating population. Actually, in those days, in Nair families of Kerala, matriarchal society was there. Moreover, in the southern states like Kerala and Tamil Nadu, the film industry has given much respect to the actresses and almost all women folk. They have ideals of women goddesses, and the people gave much regards and worshipped female heroines.
Cinematic feminism is the word coined by critics to mention about the heroic deeds of women in films. Your heroine in Kaivarisai has many fighting scenes to do. How do you justify this, director, sir?
What's wrong in women knowing the martial arts? A recent statistic reveals that the bitter truth is every 15 minutes a woman is raped. That's why I always wanted the woman characters to be heroic. Save themselves, fight for other good causes too, and be the role model for other women.
In the researcher's previous study, she found all the three slasher films released during the pandemic times had better scintillating women characters. She found only female characters appeared in 20 or 44 or 55% of films, whereas Prem Kumar's Kavir say there was no gender discrimination, and in Sayujam also there was no gender discrimination. Women appeared 80% of the scenes and in 50% of the scenes respectively. While G. Prem Kumar presents diverse female roles and explores gender as its major theme in his films, majority of Indian in Hollywood films fail to do, unfortunately. They assign only traditional gender roles to most of the female characters who display traditional behavior traits throughout the film. Not only Prem Kumar brought the actress Rajini Sharma from Bollywood as the heroine of his films, Andarangam Umayanadu, Irdayam Padanunnu, he also brought Usha Khanna, the music director, to Malayalam film Agni Nilavu as the second unit director. My recommendation is, hereafter, there should be many women-centric films where they should be held high in positions and they can be set role models in taking very significant decisions in the emancipation of women.